If you need to build out a checklist, use ChatGPT. Just put in a prompt.
Yes.
I mean, and that's where a lot of people, I think, they fall down with AI. It's like, well, I don't know what to say to it. Well, talk to it like it was, give it a name. Number one, give it a name. Number two, talk to it like it was sitting across the desk from you, an assistant waiting for you to give it instructions on how to do something. You want to start a podcast and you're like, I don't know where to start. Start with AI. Get AI to write the content for you, and then find the AI technology to build out the bots, and then have them discuss the content that you wrote. The big question here is, will real estate agents ever be replaced by artificial intelligence?
Wow. So one of those stories where you do what you do, you stay consistent with the process, and in that process, so many other magical, serendipitous type situations can come about. So if you haven't seen the episode already with this man, Craig, you're going to have to check it out, because Craig flew all the way out from Canada to be on our show in person, Real Estate versus Technology. And oh yeah, by the welcome to today's episode. And because of that, now we got connected with an amazing coach, a coach that is crushing it in the game. He has a podcast. He's been coaching for many years. He's on lots of different stages, and he's like, who's these guys? Who's Real Estate versus Technology? So we went back and forth on direct message, and now we have Kelley on Real Estate versus Technology. Welcome to the show. I appreciate your time. I know we're about 9 minutes past due for our episode today, as we're juggling busy schedules, but how's your day going so far, man? Welcome.
All good, brother. All good. I get it. I get being busy. I understand what's going on. It's all
right.
Good. Yeah, no, my day has been great, man. I stepped out, got myself a Starbucks, and yeah, it's been just a full day of coaching, and was able to get this scheduled with you here, I don't know, a couple of weeks ago, and been looking forward to it all week.
I love it, man. I love it. So I know you've been doing the coaching thing, and it looks like, so you work with like Keller Williams. I also saw we're going back and forth before. It was funny. You're talking about the Liftoff podcast, and we went live with the Liftoff Experience, and then we're Liftoff Agent. So talk about serendipitous, but that's too cool. Is that podcast new for you?
So the Liftoff podcast is actually a client of mine. I was a guest on their podcast. So they started their podcast. They're actually they're a brokerage, Remax brokerage out of Southern California. They fired up a podcast. I was their first guest. He posted out. He just fired up an Insta account here within the last couple of days.
Yeah.
And decided to post. We had a coaching call this morning, and he's like, "Hey, I want to post up this reel that I had of you on the show." And I was like, "Hey, man, go for it. Add me as a collab, and we'll get it pushed out." So that's. I know a little bit of confusion there, but that's how that rolled out.
Okay. Got it. Because at first I'm like, I thought it might have been yours. I'm like, am I talking to Kelley right now? Or is it, awesome. Okay. That's too cool. It's such a small world too out there, but no, I love it, man. And I love how you're serving our industry and giving back. And we'll love to get into a little bit of your story. So, before coaching, getting involved in this space of real estate, love to hear a little bit of your backstory before you got to where you're at today with coaching.
Yeah. So I was actually a welder before I got into real estate. I did that for about 10 years. I lived in, I actually grew up so I'm in British Columbia. I'm in a town called Kelowna, British Columbia. Craig is who you mentioned in the preamble is actually from Fernie, which isn't too far away from where I'm at. He's probably about 4 or 5 hours from me. We're in the same province. I grew up in a town called Prince George, which is like 7.5 hours north of us. It's pretty much in the geographic center of British Columbia, but it's considered northern BC. So I grew up there. I left Prince George in my early 20s. I think I was 23, 24. I moved to Edmonton, Alberta, home of the Edmonton Oilers, Connor McDavid, Wayne Gretzky, that whole thing.
Yeah.
So I lived there for 5 years and got into the trades. I got my welding ticket and, worked in the oil patch for, about a decade. I wound up moving to Calgary, and I worked in a shop. I was working on oil field equipment, and then eventually moved into welding on vessels and pipelines and all that kind of stuff, components for oil field basically. And so I got kind of tired of being in that job, first of all, I was working for somebody else. I always knew that I had a very strong pull to entrepreneurship. My parents were entrepreneurs. My dad, he was in real estate for 25 years. He left the government. He had a really nice government job. He was there with the government for 19 years. He ran weather stations around British Columbia. So he would travel a lot, go from weather station to weather station, making sure everything is, working properly. And really quite a good job. He wound up leaving because he was at the top of the top. Like, he couldn't go any further than where he was without going and getting more education. So he wound up leaving, basically on kind of a handshake and a smile type of a deal. He moved our family to Prince George and wound up within about 5 years being worth about $5 or $6 million on paper. And then the big crash happened in the early 80s. Interest rates shot up to 18%. Unfortunately, he was highly leveraged and wound up losing his ass as a result. But that being said, the whole, entrepreneur bug was kind of bred into me, I would say. And so, I realized that the guys that I was working with, there was a couple of things that I noticed. Number one, they hated their lives. They just absolutely hated their lives. They hated their jobs and they hated their wives. Like, they never ending complaints about the old ball and chain at home, right? Like, it was just a very negative environment. And so, my dad was in real estate. My sister-in-law has been in real estate for 26, 27 years. She lives in Edmonton. And I had a choice. I could either go back to school and, get more schooling, or I could go and get my real estate license. And it just so happened my wife and I just got married. We wanted to have a family, and, looking at another $30,000 or $40,000 bill, me going to school, not working, focused on that just wasn't in the game plan. So real estate it was. And so I went and did real estate school. It took me about 6 months. Did it basically part-time. So it was 3 nights a week. I worked full-time during the day, did my 2 evenings and then full day on Saturday. Did that for about 6 months. Wound up, finishing off the course, getting licensed in August of 2007. And then I went full-time in April of 2008. My wife was pregnant with our twins, 4 months pregnant with our twins. And I came home and said, hey, I think I'm busy enough. I can make a real run at this. And, she kind of looked at me and she said, well, you better make it work. So here I am, 17 years later.
Mic drop, dude. Congratulations. Yeah. That is awesome. It's funny because we have our in-person podcast studio. So when you're in the studio, I push the buttons. I know buttons to push right now to do like the mic drop or the but that's super cool. And talk about having a supportive wife. The fact that she was just like, well, you better make it work. And obviously you have, and kudos to you to then be a cycle breaker. It sounds like obviously some influencers, some influence from the family to then be able to say, okay, well, sister's doing it, dad's doing it, I could do this as well. So how long did you do the traditional transactions, buy, sell, work with, those folks until you said there's more to be able to be had here, and you went into this whole coaching aspect?
Yeah. So I started part-time. It's funny. When I told my dad that I was going to get my real estate license, he asked me if it was okay for him to pay for therapy for me. Cause at that point he had been in real estate for a number of years, and he's like, are you sure I could pay for therapy? Are you good? I'm like, no, this is the way I want to go. So, but yeah, no, I started out in 2008 as a full-time agent, April of 2008, rookie of the year that year. So the goal was to do just a deal a month. Right. And I was like, if I can do a deal a month. I was making about 120, 130 as a welder, working 6 days a week, 10-hour days sort of thing, lots of overtime, that kind of stuff. And the whole idea was just a deal a month, a deal a month. What you don't know what you don't know. And so, what happened with me was, I didn't realize that deal a month came with taxes, came with expenses, overhead, came with my broker, right? So it was like a deal a month was like $60,000, $70,000, right? Like that first year sort of thing. So at the end of 2008, I sat down and I said, okay, I did 8 deals this year, a deal a month, achieved that. Okay, so how do I double? I need to figure out how I'm going to double my business for 2009. And, keep in mind that the market had dropped in the United States. That started happening in 07.
Yeah.
There's a saying here in Canada that we have, and it's whenever the United States sneezes, Canada catches a cold. And, so you guys sneeze like rather loudly, and we caught the cold. So, it had an effect on our market. And so I didn't know what I didn't know. I was just head down, man. All I knew was, as a welder, like you're head down, ass up, and you're going to town. You're getting your work done, production, right? That's production. That's what they preach. And that's all I really knew. And so that's what I did. I just went to work, and, I just started out doing open houses, and I got really, really good at open houses. And by 2009, at the end of the year, I'd actually tripled my business. So I went from 2008, I did 24 deals in 2009, 2009, 2010, 2011, pretty flat, but I had made some adjustments in 2010, and I went kind of all in online. So think like websites. I started a video blog in 2010, 2011, one of the first agents in my market to do so. So I had these, designs that I was going to be able to grow and scale my business year over year over year. But by 2010, 2011, I was seeing some major shifts in the market. So I shifted my business with the shift in the market. By 2012, that's my breakthrough year. I was like basically year 4.5, year 5 in the business. And I went from doing basically 24 transactions year over year from 2009, 2010 to 2011 to 42 transactions in 2012. And so that was the big breakthrough at the beginning of 2012. What I don't say a lot of, I don't mention this very much in podcasts and stuff, but I'll tell you, my wife and I had a very hard and real conversation at the end of 2011. We in May of that year, we had like $50,000 in the bank. I had like a bunch of deals I completed. And man, we were off to the races. Decided, let's plan a holiday. We'll take the kids. We'll go, camping for 2 weeks. We'll have a great time. Had a blast all summer long. Then September rolls around, and I finally get another commission check. I don't do a deal for June, nothing in July, nothing in August, nothing until September. So there was like a 4-month stretch until I got paid again. That was a real wake-up call. And, my wife was like, I can't live like this. These peaks and valleys, I need stability. I need to know how much we have coming in every single month so I can make the bill payments. Like, we're not skipping mortgage payments here. Like, you need to figure your shit out. So get it sorted. And so she's like, I want you to go back to welding. And dude, I was like 3.5 years into this career. And I was like, there's no way I'm going back. I'm just not going to do it. And I convinced her. I'm in sales. I sold her on the very idea that, give me until the end of the first quarter and I'll show you, we'll turn this thing around. That's how I remember it. She remembers it. Give me until the end of May. She's got a much better memory than I do. So we'll just go with her. So I was like, okay, give me until the end of May and I'll show you, I'll do 3 deals a month. That's the goal. Yeah. And so, like I said, and by the end of 2012, we're at 42 transactions. By the end of May, I hit like 17 or 18 deals. So I eclipsed, and then we just kept scaling upwards. By the end of 2012, I started to put designs on building a team. And I launched it in 2013, had no clue as to what I was doing, had no idea. I went to a Boomtown conference in 2013 in South Carolina, in Charleston. Every single team leader there had a coach. And so I came back from that. I hired a coach. My first coaching call was, why do you want to build a team? And my answer was, well, and I didn't say this exactly, but this was kind of the gist of it. I want to hire other human beings to leverage so that I can make more money. And her response was, that's the wrong answer. And when you figure out what the right answer is, call me back. That was our first day, first coaching call. And it like literally lasted 20 minutes and click. So I took 2 weeks trying to figure my shit out and called her back. And I said, okay, I think I've got to figure it out. And then, once I finished working with her and getting my mind right around what it really takes to be a team leader, that's when everything turned. Yes, we still continued to grow the business in 2013, but the attrition stopped. Like the revolving door of agents stopped. Right? Because the culture was on point, the messaging was on point, the branding was on point, the coaching, the training, the mentorship, my mind was all right. Right. So that's where the coaching for me started, was really in 2013, and hiring a coach, figuring out really truly where my passion really lies. And it's in this. It's these conversations, man. Like this is what gets me up in the morning at 5 a.m. every single day. This is what gets me in the gym. This is what gets the juices flowing. It's the types of days that I have, like today, where I started my day at 6 a.m. in the office, first coaching call, and it's like all the way through until 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Like these are the days that I live for.
That's amazing. And it sounds like, and I could contest to this, everyone can viewers and listeners out there, like, your wife's right. It's peaks and valleys. It's not consistent cash coming in every single day. And until you cash flow because of maybe a twoplex, a fourplex, and you get into real estate and you have doors and you become an investor. Right. And it sounds like for you, you grew the team. And then when you grew the team, did that finally start to give you like the light at the end of the tunnel with consistent deal flow? Is that what happened for you at that time?
Yeah, 100%. So 2013 was a good year. I think we did 65, 70 transactions that year, which was actually pretty good considering that the team was in constant state of flux. 2014 was a great year. I think we did close to 100 transactions that year. And that's where the stability really started to come into play. And, obviously the market turned around quite a bit as well. But the part that I left out that I didn't get to yet, by the end of 2015, I'd actually merged my team with a small boutique brokerage, became a partner in that brokerage. We ran as like a super team for 2016. So I think at our peak, I think we had about 15 agents on the team. Okay. And then we shifted gears at the end of 2016 and went the more traditional model in 2017. And then we grew that brokerage from 9 agents to 115 agents in a little bit less than 2 years. Wow, so okay. we had just a spectacular value proposition. We were kind of new and fresh in the market, and we're doing some really great things with video and podcasting and attraction and that kind of stuff, putting on events and that sort of thing. So,
wow, that's awesome. Congratulations. And I watched one of your videos from the perspective of like, if I was going to do it all over again, I would just be focusing on Instagram and YouTube and video content and putting out content. I saw that you actually did some content with one of the guests that we had, who's a YouTube guru in your market. And I'm trying to think of his name right off the top of my head. And
Nolan Matthias.
You got it. Yeah. Thank you so much. He's awesome. Nolan's amazing. We went back and forth a little bit as well, because you're seeing it. You're seeing this whole passive prospecting, YouTube, video to blog, and being a mayor of your local town or city, which is huge. And before we kind of go into the next segment, I think that might even be a really good segment to talk about. Once you went into the team route, and then you're this like mega team, if you will, 115 plus agents, how did you find balance from the perspective of, working on it in the business and taking those 2 weeks off? And it's still running, even though you don't need to be running it.
Yeah. So we weren't a team-based brokerage at that point. We were a traditional style brokerage. We didn't have a team. It was like, like a Royal LePage, Remax, Century 21, that sort of thing. Right? So we were kind of traditional, but where I really excelled was having my door always open and having agents coming in, and like it was really crazy, dude. Like, when I first got with those guys, and it was great because we had to answer your question, we had a team. There was like 4 of us on the team in the ownership group, 5 of us at one point. And so everybody kind of had their role within the organization. And so as long as you kind of stuck to your role, everything was good to go. Which, I didn't have as like that solo team leader. Like, you're the man when it comes to everything, the trainer, the coach, the mentor, the accountant, the marketing guru, like everything. Right. And so it's tough to be a team lead, and I get it. But when you get into like leadership from a brokerage perspective, as long as you've got other leaders that are there, fully believe in servant leadership, fully believe that the agent is central and core to everything that we're, trying to do and try to establish. And we're not looking at them as profit centers. They're human beings. They're people that just want to provide, for their families and have, live an amazing lifestyle. As long as you've had that as kind of the forefront and the core of who you are as a business person, especially, in this business for sure, your brokerage is going to soar. You're going to see lots of success. And so, where I wound up excelling was on the systems side of things, the operational side of things. And what I brought to the table was I had project management software called Basecamp. that I was using to run the back end of the team. We had a CRM. We had systemization and automation built in for every listing that we took, every buyer that we had, all the marketing stuff that we were doing, like everything that I had as a team lead, I brought to that brokerage. And I'll tell you, the first day that I walked in, I sat down and spoke with their administrator, and I said, okay, so walk me through your listing process. And she looked at me and she goes, what listing process? I said, well, okay, when Brett and Darren bring in a new listing, like what happens? She goes, oh, well, they come in and they drop off a listing contract on my desk, and it's got the name and the phone number of the client, and I have to fill everything else out. I'm like, okay, but what about everything else? She's like, I am everything else. So I'm like, holy smokes. Okay, so this is the Wild West, right? So let me help you. Help me help you. So we sat down and we completely revised everything. So that was my secret form of genius, is just from the operational side of things and being able to improve efficiency. And that's, truly what I bring, a different aspect. That's what I said in when you ask the questions, like I bring a truly different perspective to the coaching side of things. First of all, I'm fully holistic. I'm like, let's sit down, let's talk about your business, where your needs are. Cause I've got one guy, we're just full on systems. That's all we're talking about. I've got other people where it's lead generation, lead conversion, all of those things. So it's a fully holistic experience. Second, it's like, I'm still selling, right? I still sell real estate. Now, nowhere near the degree that I used to, but my foot's still in it, man. Whereas most coaches, there's some coaches out there that have never sold real estate. There's some coaches out there that, maybe sold a little bit, but never at the level that they probably should have. Like, how many coaches out there can say consistently that they were doing 100 transactions a year? Not many, right? So, I firmly believe in, basically walking the walk and talking the talk, and being able to come at this industry from a bunch of different perspectives.
Yeah, that's huge. And kudos to you, man. Congratulations. And I'm sure viewers and listeners out there, if you're not fired up at this point, let's go. Come on. And thanks very much for everyone out there who is viewing and listening. We do appreciate your time today. Big thank you to Liftoff for sponsoring our show. And please like, subscribe, and Kelly's information is down below. Wow, man. I had to say a couple commentaries to what you said. First and foremost, SOPs, KPI, standard operating procedures, that's one big lacking point. And not only that, like if you don't have it written down on paper, how are you going to scale? Or if you want to have a buying specialist, a selling specialist, maybe both, whatever. So I love that you went deeper on the systems, the process, and ask those questions, because God forbid, if that person, she was gone, it's all up here.
Yeah.
You got, where do you even start? You're like, oh, we just lost our main person. Now we're going to find someone else that knows the thing. Or the broker owner is going to have to be like, okay, like let's hire Kelly.
Yeah. Well, so there's something called the camcorder method. And this is something that my coach taught me. And it's basically any system that you want to create can be created by you just recording a quick screen share video of you doing whatever it is that you need to do. Right. So if there's a certain email that needs to get written, you hit like I'm on a Mac, so I can go to a QuickTime Player. I can hit screen record. I can, record myself sending out or putting that email together and putting it into the right program and, setting it up for send, and then hitting stop, and then continuing to do that, and then give that to the assistant and say, okay, now I need you to build out the standard operating procedure. This is what this is the programming that the software that we're going to use. I need you to take this. And, ChatGPT can really help grow and scale at a level that is just completely unprecedented.
Oh my
God.
Dude,
I went through my ChatGPT just before we jumped on the call, and I'm like, okay, so what am I using this for on a consistent basis? And I came up with like 12 things that were kind of right at the top of the list. Yeah. And it's amazing. Like the stuff that agents could be and should be doing. And then what I did is I went into ChatGPT and I said, what are the top 20 things that agents should be using artificial intelligence for? And it gave me the top 20 things. And I was like, man, there's so many agents that I talk to on a consistent basis that don't know even know what a KPI is. They have no idea what the acronym SOP even stands for. And if I ask somebody, what is your standard operating procedure for working with listings and sellers, they're looking at me like a deer in the headlights. And so, Jesus, if you need to build out a checklist, use ChatGPT, just put in a prompt.
Yes.
Yes. I mean, and that's where a lot of people, I think, they fall down with AI. It's like, well, I don't know what to say to it. Well, talk to it like it was, give it a name. Number one, give it a name. Number two, talk to it like it was sitting across the desk from you, an assistant waiting for you to give it instructions on how to do something.
Yes, 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 yes. I love that. I love that. A quick little side story. So we have a YouTube channel, and for Liftoff Agent, the organization that sponsors Real Estate First Technology, and 170 videos back, I did a video that all suddenly started to just pop off, and it was just about how to film an intro video. So, okay, cool. And then with a comment, and the lady said, "Oh, well, this doesn't tell me how to film an intro video." So I said, "Aha." Went to ChatGPT, put in all the prompts. It spit out how to basically, like, here's a video, here's the prompts, and then it spit out, here's your guide on how to film an intro video. Then I went into it a step further. I re-recorded the video to leverage the first video that already did really well. And then I basically gave them the guide. And then I went to that comment and said, oh, guess what? We have a new video with the guide. Here you go. Thank you so much for the motivation and support watching our channel.
Right.
Right. Just being proactive. And it's mind-boggling. And that's why you're here. Guests, viewers, listeners, Kelly's here because of that. That's why you're here, to like put it into perspective and inspire our community here, so we can do better and can show up more. And I love that. Would you mind sharing any of the items that it spit out?
Yeah.
Because you said
absolutely
that agents should be using.
Yeah, there is 20 things.
Okay.
So I'll break it down for you.
I love this. That way, give some takeaways for the folks who's viewing and listening, so they could specifically be like, all right, cool. Like, here's some things that I could be utilizing AI for right now.
Okay. So in no particular order, this is where it started. So it started with marketing and lead gen. So there was 6 items in marketing and lead gen. Content creation for social media, utilizing AI to write captions, scripts, hooks, carousels, carousel posts that convert. So I use this on a regular basis. Every video that I do, if it's not, so I'm recording this podcast right now, like I'm recording myself on my phone. So I'm capturing the content right now. And so what I'll do is I'll take this, I'll send it over to my editor. He'll clip this stuff up. Then we'll take those clips, I'll put it into AI. I'll have AI analyze the video and then have it write me a caption that I'm then going to use on Instagram. Right? I'll make a few edits and then boom and done. Number 2, video scripts and AI avatars. So AI avatar, something that I'm exploring right now. It's gotten so good. And dude, there's an outlier that I'm going to talk about. I kind of at the end of this list here, but I saw this today, and once you see it, you can't unsee it. It's absolutely insane. So video scripts. You had Nolan. You mentioned Nolan Mathias. You had Nolan on your podcast. I'm curious, did he talk about harpa.ai at all? If you remember?
I don't believe off the top of my head. No.
Okay. So Harpa, I learned this from Nolan. I've been in his mastermind since the very beginning. I was one of his very first customers. I've known Nolan for like 15 years. Like him and I go way back, right? And so I saw the rise of his YouTube channel in real time. I was like, oh yeah, he's on YouTube now. Oh, 500 subscribers. And I go back there a couple months later, he's at 1,000. About a month later, he's at 10,000. I'm like, what in the hell is he doing? What has he done here? It's crazy, but he figured it out. Right. And so, utilizing Harpa, it's a plugin for Chrome. You can go to YouTube, you find, people that are creating content that's similar to the content that you want to create, finding a channel that's got, in terms of the amount of subscribers to the amount of videos or video views that they have. So if they've got 100 subscribers, but they have a video that's got 1,000 or 5,000 or 6,000 views on it, like that's what you're looking for, as opposed to the reverse, right? Where you got a channel that's got 5,000 subs, but videos with only 100 views on it, right? So look for those types of videos. You can utilize Harpa to summarize the video. You can take the summary, put it into ChatGPT, because those two are connected, and then have ChatGPT write a script based off of that video. So exactly what you were talking about earlier, where you had this, you did the intro for how to do an intro video. Somebody's like, well, it didn't tell me how to do this. So then you went back, you had ChatGPT redo the whole thing for you for a video that popped off. I mean, it's kind of similar, but you're doing it based off of someone else's content that's working for them. My position is, if it works for them, it should work for you.
Yeah.
Right. So generating video scripts, property listing descriptions, where I think most agents are probably using AI for, they're just using it for that, which is so basic, right? As my kids would say, you're so basic. Number 4, automated email marketing campaigns. So writing the content for, I use this on a fairly consistent basis. Ad copywriting, SEO blog writing. I think there's some probably some stuff that we'd probably have to mention in terms of SEO, in terms of the blog writing. I don't know that Google really likes the AI generated content. I think using it as a baseline or an outline and then going in and writing your own stuff is still going to be key, because I think Google is kind of fairly aware of that AI generated type content. I think it actually penalizes, but I could be wrong on that. The second portion was client communication and engagement. So smart chatbots, like something like ManyChat. Somebody responds to you on Instagram, you can queue off a response right away. AI powered DMs, like scripting, like in ManyChat, SMS, text message campaigns. Some CRMs have like lead scoring, like Boomtown had, or I guess it's Bold Trail now, but they have lead scoring based on the person's based on what their activities on your website, right? So if they're jumping around and they're looking at a bunch of different properties, like the lead score, like it's out of 100. So we used to use Boomtown. So anybody with like a 92 or above would be on the phone with them, trying to convert them daily. And then it goes into systems and organization and planning. So creating a daily content calendar, market report summaries. I just tested this out here the other day. I was like, geez, I wonder if this thing will do a CMA for me. So I downloaded 4 PDFs, 4 sold properties for an area in Calgary. Actually, I'm still licensed in Alberta as well, the city that I lived in for 18 years. So I took those 4 PDFs, I uploaded them into ChatGPT. I asked for, give me the days on market, the sales price, the sold to list price ratio, number of bedrooms, number of bathrooms, and square footage for each property. Then I want you to give me the averages for the days on market, the averages for the sales price. And then I want you to write a synopsis based on all of that data, something that I can use in a market evaluation. And boom, like that, within, like, it was all in the prompt. It was all in the prompt. Right. So the prompt really, and again, I mean, if I had, my AI his name is Carl.
Okay.
And the reason being is because there's this internet meme. I used to watch The Walking Dead all the time.
Okay.
And so there's the internet meme. It's Rick and Carl had just shot somebody, like an actual human being, for the first time. And Rick is like bent over and he's all in tears, and it's all these dad jokes and these memes. And he used to call Carl. It's not Carl, it's Coral. Anyways, so I named my AI Carl. So anyhow,
that's no, I love that. And it's interesting because my sister-in-law actually was talking to the AI, talking from the perspective of like a relationship, not so much from the perspective of like work relationships, just personal relationship. But long story short, found out the AI eventually, ChatGPT eventually said this is the name, and then got a picture because you could do the pictures. And then my wife was doing a lot of infographics on there as well. And one way to get around the blog situation is video to blog. So that's one thing that we do on the sponsor side for Liftoff Agent. We turn every single YouTube video into a blog, then help with SEO to kind of get around that. But it's so true, right? It's like AI and then artificial intelligence policing artificial intelligence to make sure that us as humans are still doing human things, giving a human perspective instead of an AI generated perspective of parks and schools and restaurants of local area, which makes sense. It makes sense. Also, there's going to be a list down below. So I'm going to have our team put the list down below. Rainith, if you could make that happen for us, much appreciated, for our video editing team who's going to be crushing this for us. And I love that, thank you so much, Kelly, for adding so much value. It's one thing to talk about the facts and the figures, the stories. It's another thing to say, okay, here's actual specific data. That's what we do at NOAA. We actually had him go into, I want to say it was Real Estate vs. Technology YouTube channel, and he did a little bit of an audit. And then later on, we showed him the Liftoff Agent one. And he's like, oh, I wish I would have had the Liftoff Agent one first. And the one thing I will say, go watch that episode, everyone out there. But I will say, he keeps it so simple. He doesn't do anything besides a thumbnail and a title. There's no copy, no nothing. It's just and it works.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
I know. Yeah. No, it's wild. So So you're talking about AI policing AI. Okay. And so remember I was talking about this outlier. So this blew my mind today. Do you know
Mm,
who Chris Smith is?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So he posted something up on his page on Facebook today. He's got an email list called the Chris list. Okay. And so
Mm,
he's been sending this out for years now. He's taken his email and he's turned it into a podcast. Now, you might think, oh, well, that's not exactly mind blowing, but here's the mind blowing part. He does not host the podcast.
mm,
AI bots host the podcast.
interesting.
So it's two AI bots having a conversation back and forth for 8 minutes, 10 minutes, 11 minutes,
Hmm.
discussing his email in a podcast format.
So interesting.
Dude, I listened. So there was a video that absolutely blew up the internet, went viral a couple of years ago, and it was this guy. He was wearing like like this kind of a brown leather jacket. He's kind of in a nice office setting. He sits down at a desk, and he's got ChatGPT, and this is like probably ChatGPT 3 or 3.5, something like
Mhm.
that. It was a year or two ago, and he had ChatGPT having a conversation with another AI, another ChatGPT bot on different phones. They were talking to each other, having a conversation. So
Wow.
this was a couple of years ago. Fast forward a couple of years later, Chris Smith has figured out how to get these AI bots to have a conversation in a podcast format based on the content that he's written.
Amazing.
So think
Amazing.
about this. You want to start a like I had a client just start a podcast here just the other day.
Yeah.
Okay. You want to start a podcast and you're like, I don't know where to start. Start with AI, get AI
Mm,
to write the content for you, and
mhm,
then find the AI technology to build out the bots and then have them discuss the content that you wrote. Like
mm,
you could write the script, you could script the whole thing out, right?
mm.
And then have these AI bots sound like they're having a conversation without sounding very robotic. Like,
Wow.
yeah, it was wild. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah,
It was mind blowing.
it is mind-blowing, and it's something like that, which is a differentiator that's going to set you apart. So, no one viewing and listening right now, we're still at the infant stages of what all of this means and what can come about it. Yes, there's some standard procedures, right? Some stuff you could do in the list that you just broke down. But Chris Smith, prime example of a
Yeah.
pioneer doing something in a way where you don't think people are going to talk about that. We're talking about right now on a podcast.
Yeah, and he literally just launched it like today. Like
Wow.
and I just so happened to see it. It was like I said, I mean, I listened to the first 2 minutes. I'm like, this is insane. This sounds like it's just two people having a conversation. It was a man and a woman. Like pretty
Wow.
crazy. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, and it's amazing because you can now get to a point where you can literally you could dictate whatever you wish and it can spit it out super simple. I use it all the time for whether it's like I want to hire a lawyer. Okay, great. So we're gonna go ahead and check the grammar, make it more powerful, use it to help me write a book that I'm writing, use it to send out. I've been dealing with some HOA debacle, right? Come to find out,
There you
the
go.
HOA sent out 3 letters to us because our travel trailer on the side of the house is on Airbnb. And the last message was, we need to read the bylaws before we can go ahead and tell you they're null and void. Well, you shouldn't have sent me the 3 letters in the first place because you never read the CCNRs to have the right to send me the letters in the first place.
Right. There you go.
So
Which you could have had ChatGPT analyze that whole thing for you. You would have been able to find it like that. Right.
touche. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
So these are a lot of various ways. For anyone viewing and listening out there, like ways to be able to, maybe rewind this, watch this a couple times because you're blowing my mind over here. I can imagine whoever's watching and listening, like, holy cow, like I'm missing the mark, or I could be utilizing it in so many different ways, or I'm not even on it. So
Yeah.
where are you at with this? For whoever's viewing and listening, and think about what you could do to really take this to another level, because I feel like there is so many opportunities to be able to really lift off, if you will, and have so much more success in the process.
Yeah, it's so I built my own GPT. It's basically it's a health coach,
Okay.
and I took links and writings of Dr. Andrew Huberman,
Okay.
Dr. Peter Attia,
Hmm.
and Mike Israetel. And so it's like a health coach. Okay. So put all this, I put this thing together, gave it a voice. Every time you answer me, I want you to answer in this fashion. Here are all the links to the articles that, please educate yourself, do more research, figure out who these guys are. So I build this thing out, and my son plays football, and he's like, okay, Dad, I want to put on weight. Like, how do I do that? Like, I got to hire a nutrition coach. I'm like, dude, you don't need a nutrition coach. You don't need a trainer. I got everything you need right here, clickety clack, right? So I went in and I'm gave it a prompt. I've got a 16-year-old son, wants to gain weight, plays football, wide receiver. Here's his current stats. This is where he wants to get to. How does he get there? What does he need to eat? What does a workout program look like? Boom, it spit out the entire program. So I grabbed his phone. I started with the workout program, went in MyFitnessPal. I programmed the workout for him. Boom, there you go. That's done. And then printed off the meal planning. So here you go. This is how much protein you have to have. Here's how I showed him how to track it in MyFitnessPal, like do all of these things. He's now since found his own apps. He doesn't need MyFitnessPal, but he's basically still doing the same workouts. The kid's put on 35 pounds in like the last 7 months. Like I'm trying to lose weight and he's trying to gain weight. So it's pretty funny. He'll jump on the scale and he'd be like, oh, right on. I'm at 168. I'm like, I get on the scale. I'm like, oh, right on. I'm at 238. Right. So it's like, I'm trying to go this way. He's trying to go that way. But that's cool. One of the uses. I had these weird bruises on my abdomen, just right around my rib cage. I took a picture of the bruises and I uploaded into that GPT. And I said, analyze this photo and ask me any questions that you need to gain clarity. I need you to diagnose this for me. And so it basically came back with, it looks like you have bruising on your abdomen. What have you been doing? And so I do a shit pile of crunches every single day as part of my workout routine. And that's it determined that's what it was from.
Wow.
So then you look at all of these different professions. Like my wife is a psychologist. She has a client who's similar to I think you mentioned your sister-in-law. It was this client's wife was having a conversation, the client's husband was having a conversation with the AI and asking all of these questions as it pertained to his mother-in-law, because he thinks that she's wacky or something. And, it basically, this AI was able to kind of diagnose the mother-in-law based on all of the information that this guy gave it over a conversation.
Wow.
So it's like, the big question here is, will real estate agents ever be replaced by artificial intelligence? And I think there's a lot of people out there that are saying no. And I'm one of those people that are saying no. It's the agents that leverage AI that are going to outpace the ones that aren't. I think that's a great answer for right now. Ask me that same question in a year, and my answer will probably change.
Yeah,
it will probably change.
It's so true. I feel like it's definitely going to enhance them. But if 90% of the business is done by 10% of real estate professionals, then what's going to happen with the rest? And I think that you see the video, you see the YouTube channels, you see all that content. Eventually, is it going to be a human? Is it not going to be a human? I think the only thing that keeps the real estate professional around is the fact that, like what you did at the beginning of the show, which was add value based off stories, right? Stories sell. Right. And so, as soon as you, move someone emotionally, right, they're never going to forget you, right? People forget what you said and did, but they won't forget that you made them feel. So like, if agents can be feelers and can talk about who they are and what they're doing and everything else, then cool. But then the rest, I don't know. I think if more people were like, what do they say? I was watching a video about people that are autistic. And they said, if you want to hire someone that's really good to help you with your marketing, hire someone that's autistic. Because guess what? There's no emotions. They just literally analyze the data like an AI and give it to you straight. Well, if more people are autistic, I think that real estate professionals will be completely eliminated, because AI would meet their needs, because majority of us are feelers and we feel and we connect with that being a part of our DNA. I think it's going to take a little bit longer, but I definitely think that'll be less in, like, in the United States, there's 1.5 million agents, probably less now. I can see a lot less than that. And our goal is 15,000 agents that we want to serve. We'll have about 500 at the end of the year on the Lift Off Agent platform. And I don't know, maybe it'll be AI driven.
Well, it's crazy. Like the AI, like HeyGen and Synthesia, So there's HeyGen and Synthesia.
Mhm.
This AI is getting so good. It's getting so good that you have a hard time telling whether it's AI generated or it's the actual person. Like within the
Wow.
last 6 to 12 months, it has advanced that far. It's advanced so far that I think probably within the next 18 months, you'll wind up seeing the very first movie generated that is all AI. It'll be entirely artificial intelligence, and
It's amazing.
it will be all generated by just that technology. Now,
Yeah.
I mean, obviously the actors
Yeah.
will have to give up, license to their voices, right? But man, I'll tell you, it is absolutely wild. Like, Tom Cruise can continue to make movies well into his 90s. Like for the next 30 years, we could have Top Gun 32, right? Like I'm sitting there at 90 years old, like strapped to my chair and like watching Top Gun 32, and it's still Tom Cruise, and he looks like he's 35 years old still,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's getting that crazy. So I don't know. Can we be replaced as estate agents, real estate agents? That, like you said, that belly to belly, that as
Yeah.
long as people don't, really prefer the robotic style, I guess, over that human feeling and that touchy feeliness, I guess, maybe our jobs are secure in the short term, but
Yeah.
humanoid robots are like right around the corner. Everybody's going to
Yeah.
have one. Then in the next, 5 to 10 years, everybody's going to have a humanoid robot in their house. Like
It's
it's going to be
coming.
like the dishwasher,
It's
right?
gonna be like the dishwasher, the microwave, the vacuum, the
Yeah.
robot vacuum. Yeah, I'm right there. I'm right there with you. And I think that like, just like the old age saying, they say like, you know what, like there's enough business to go around. So I think that there's enough people where you'll have demographics and pockets of people that are like, nope, I'm all AI. I don't want to deal with nobody. And then they might be miserable. Who knows? And then you have other people that are like, no, I like to have that human to human touch. And I think that with AI and with the evolution of everything, I do feel that now it does give us the opportunity to travel more, to be with our family more, to be able to enjoy ourselves more. And so that's where to have that autonomy is amazing. So you don't have to sit there and trade your time so much for money. And I think anyone who's viewing and listening, if there's a huge take point from you or a take point that you can take from the episode, is like, utilize this stuff to save yourself time and understand, what is your standard operating procedure, and speak it to ChatGPT or any AI. There's even DeepSeek, the China one that's free, and like just elaborate with it, and you never know what can happen, right? I mean,
Yeah.
it could be endless opportunities.
Well, I'll tell you, I've got a guy that's in my group coaching group, and he shared with us, I don't know, this was probably a month or two ago. He shared with us the sequence of prompts that he used to generate this one question survey that he sent out in an email to his database that wound up generating like 3 listing appointments, and he took 1 listing from it.
Wow.
And has actually wound up re-engaging his database just with this one question survey. If you're okay with it, I'd love to be able to provide that list of prompts to your audience if
Yes.
you're cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there's 2 things that your audience would have to do. The first thing they got to do is they got to go to Instagram and they got to follow me there. So my handle is at Kelly Skar. So just my name that you see on the screen there. For your listeners that don't see us on the video, it's at KELLEYSKAR. So that's the first thing. Go there, follow me. Second thing, there you go. That guy right there, that handsome fella.
Let's go.
The second thing you need to do is send me a DM with the keyword prompt. So PROMPT, prompt. And that'll kick off an automation, which will then give you a link to that sequence of prompts that you can then use to create a 1 question survey that you can then send out to your database through Flowdesk or MailChimp or Constant Contact or whatever program you're utilizing.
Got it. Okay. Awesome. I love it. Yeah, definitely going to try it myself and see what happens. And I think that that's going to be amazing. Thanks so much for adding that value to our viewers and listeners, as that's our intention, right? It's like, yeah, cool. You can watch a podcast. Yeah, cool. You can be entertained and listen to something as you're driving to to work or the gym or whatever. Or you're at the gym on cardio, whatever. You're on the toilet. But let's actually get some substance here. Let's add some value. And I'll be completely transparent with you. What I'm going to do, Kelly, after our episode, I'm going to have our social, we have a social department, we have a web department, video department. I'm going to have video department and social department watch this, because there's some takeaways and some stuff that just came up from earlier in the episode where our social department's, they're the newest department in this organization is the video side, about a year and a half old. And with that being said, we're always working on what is going to be the best, everything from vidIQ to TubeBuddy to ChatGPT to Google Trends. And you're like analyzing the video, what's going to be the best the thumbnail, what's going to be the best title. Right. And so what came up for me earlier in the episode, just to kind of, and maybe you all are doing this as well. What came up for you? Let's exercise here. This for me was, hey, Bernadette, for an example, one of our team leads in the social department, rewatch this and then understand how you could use ChatGPT to analyze a YouTube video that I filmed or a podcast video that we filmed to come up with a title for our episode today. That's going to be, something that would index, hopefully have a high video IQ score or index on Google and YouTube to be able to get the most viewership possible. So we're going to use some of the techniques that you gave us within today's episode. We're going to put them into massive action, and we're going to use it so we can be able to expand this episode, because at the end of the day, I feel like, your legacy is the way you show up for people and what you give. And you just gave a plethora of information. So now your DNA is going to be within our organization now as we expand. So I just want to say thank you so much, Kelly, for that. And I definitely appreciate it with massive action.
Yeah, man. I love it. I love that. You're familiar with Sean Cannell. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I just watched a video of his today. He was talking about the YouTube channel of the podcast, Diary of a CEO. I'm sure you're familiar with that. So this is a channel that's got 10.1 million subscribers. Mm-hmm. Their average video views is somewhere around like 700,000 to 900,000 views per video. Wow. Their latest video they just uploaded like 2 days ago. It's just over 400,000 views on it in 2 days. So, they've got ridiculous resources. What he said today, again, it was mind blowing. So these guys are so dialed in to increasing their click-through rate as well as their engagement on their videos that they put resources around their thumbnails and generating the best possible thumbnail that they can. They generate per video about 81 different thumbnails per video until they figure out which one is going to hit. Wow. So they've got like 3 different shots of the host, and that's it. They've got 3 different shots of the host, and then they take 3 screenshots of the guest in various different facial expressions. So it could be concerning, could be mad, could be happy, could be sad, whatever. Yeah. So they take these different screenshots and they use that as part of the thumbnail. And then what they do is they take quotes out of the video. And so they put the quote up onto the thumbnail, and then they run ads around each thumbnail to determine which one is going to get the higher click-through rate. And then they take that thumbnail, that one becomes the thumbnail for the video.
Wow.
That is crazy. I mean, 81, you're not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. They're going to do that. But that's how committed they are to figuring their stuff out.
That's Mr. Beast status. Mr. Beast says the 100%. Same thing. And he analyzes. And that's where I feel like for the viewers and listeners out there, it's okay. This isn't to overwhelm anyone because now my team has 81 thumbnails. Are great. No, not to overwhelm anyone, but just to give perspective where hiring a coach like Kelly or hiring a company like, say, our sponsor, Liftoff Agent, that's our job to analyze and to make that happen. And that's where I feel like you could also just use ChatGPT, AI, go through that process. And you know what, to be honest with you, I think what's been a huge part that is missing, that I think this is a huge takeaway, I think, for anyone who's viewing and listening, who's in real estate or even a business owner, to help them grow their businesses, ask more questions and have your past customers be a part of your success and growth in business, because there's no better moment than a past client giving you advice based off a thumbnail, because you sent out an email saying, hey, I got a thumbnail that I'm creating, and this is all for my past clients about the top 10 parks. And there's 10 thumbnails. Can you give me an option of which one you would like? Email marketing campaign. Boom. You send out to 5,000 people, right? And then you just let them pick A, B, C, D, E, F, G, maybe just make it 4, something simple, A, B, C. And then boom, now you got just like when you do polls on Instagram, right? And so
Yep.
then you have your customers, you're adding value, and it just makes them feel like they're a part of your success in business. And that's exactly how our organization was founded after calling 350 agents, just to like ask questions to find out, and then let those questions dictate the outcome of our future successes as we grew and orchestrated this business. And just right now, prime example, Kelly, you're adding value. So as we grow, we're going to take all of these findings from today's show, put it in practical action. And that's exactly what I want our viewers and listeners to do.
Awesome, man. This has been great. I appreciate you having me on.
Dude, it's been amazing. It's been amazing. Likewise, man. Symbiotic. It's been great. I like how we are very much in line with just mindset and growth and video and marketing and AI and all the things. It's been an absolute pleasure. As we do finish up our show, because I know that now we're over time because I was behind time. What's the last thing you want to leave with our viewers and listeners as we close up our episode? And one golden nugget, one quote that you want to leave them with?
Yeah. So I think a lot of people right now are struggling with their mindset. The market has shifted in a lot. It doesn't matter whether you're in Canada, if you're in the United States, the market has absolutely shifted, and it hasn't shifted for the better. There's some markets that are better than others. I get it. But for the most part, I think the market is really tough out there right now. It's tough for buyers and sellers it's tough for sellers to get their property sold. It's tough for buyers to find the right deal, or, sometimes sellers' expectations are pretty wild as well. And so that really drains on the agent. And, geez, am I doing everything that I possibly can in order to be able to feed my family and provide the best possible life for them? I'll tell you something that my coach taught me that really set my mind right. Was something very simple. And it was just making the decision to commit to doing 5 things on a daily basis. And these are what we call the 5 daily non-negotiables. And these are things that I follow every single day. I utilize, in fact, I put this up on my story. I utilize Google Tasks for this. And so what the 5 daily non-negotiables are in very specific order, you're working out 45 minutes a day. So you're getting movement, you're getting the juices flowing. That's creating inspiration. It's, you're getting the serotonin levels up. You feel inspired. You just feel better overall, as you get movement in the gym. You go to the gym, lift heavy shit. You feel I feel infinitely better after I go to the gym and lift heavy shit. So that's number 1. Number 2, I read 10 pages of a book every single day. So I'm almost through the 4-hour work week. I'm, almost to the end of that. What happens with me is when I get to almost to the end of a book, I go and choose the next book and I start to crack that one. And then I'm reading 2 books at a time. The goal for me is to read 24 books this year. And I'm at, I think 7 right now. I'll start number 8 here pretty quick. So I know that I'll hit that goal. So that's number 2. Number 3 is I review my goals at least 3 times a day. In fact, what I've done, one of my books that I read this year was Think and Grow Rich. So this guy right here, right? This is actually the first time that I read this book, 50 years old, never picked it up before. I've had this copy for probably a decade and never read it. And so I picked it up, I read it. Page 22, chapter 2, there's a list of questions that he goes through, Napoleon Hill goes through, gets you to answer these questions and then create a phrase. So I've created my phrase, I've saved it as a screensaver on my phone, and I verbalize the phrase twice a day. So I don't review my goals 3 times a day, I verbalize the phrase twice a day. Number 4 is I post on social media at least 3 times a day. So why am I doing that? Why am I devoting so much time to posting on social? Well, first of all, I picked a platform that I'm going all in on. If you haven't figured it out yet, yes, it's Instagram, right? So I create posts there, I put up stories, and I create reels. I take content like this, I capture content like this, and I post that up there. Why do I do that? Because I'm building a brand, I'm building a business. That's why. I want to give more than I receive. I come from the Gary Vee school of thought, where I want to give as much value as I possibly can. And when it hurts, I'm just going to continue to give more and more and more, because I know that the more that I give, the more that it comes back to me in the long run. And the last thing, the 5th daily non-negotiable, is I reach out and I touch 5 people consistently every single day. So I start contacts, or I start conversations. So it's the 5 daily opens. So what I'll do is I'll get people that follow me on Instagram. I start a conversation with them. Hey, thanks so much for following me here on IG. I'm curious, how did you find me? I had a lady that followed me. She's like, I heard you on this podcast. I really want to get started with Instagram, but I'm having trouble with the X, Y, and Z. right? Or Z, I guess you guys say in the US, X, Y, and Z, X, Y, and Z, whatever, same thing, same alphabet, we just say things a little bit differently, spell things a little bit different. That's okay. So, she becomes a great conversation, somebody that I can potentially help to grow this side of their business because they're entirely confused as to where they go. Right. So from an agent's perspective, getting the movement, setting the tone and reading the book, really setting the tone and verbalizing your goals for yourself, doing that daily. My coach is a 9-figure entrepreneur. His coach is a 10-figure, 11-figure entrepreneur. If this guy's coach is telling him to do the 5 daily non-negotiables and he's telling me to do the 5 daily non-negotiables, I'm listening to that dude. Right. So I do that day in and day out. If you want to get your mind right, if you want to be inspired consistently, and if you want to build a business and a brand, you have to decide to commit to doing these things on a daily basis. And I'll tell you, man, it's happened. You and me getting connected came from me reaching out as you being one of my 5 daily non-negotiable daily opens. I spoke on stage in 2 cities here in February. That came as a direct result of me doing my 5 daily opens, right? I've connected with agents that want to hire me as their coach. That comes directly from building a brand and building a business online. I'm down 26 pounds, like countless inches. I look very different today than I did back in January and February of this year. And that's because I've committed to not drinking, to not eating dirty, eating healthy, and tracking everything that I eat and tracking everything that I do. Right. So the first step was making the decision to make the commitment. It isn't about, I'm going to go out and create this habit. You have to decide to commit to make the habit.
That was super powerful. Felt the passion, hear you loud and clear. And now it's completely clear why we have connected, because I do that every single day. I have the vision board on my phone. Awesome. And I have an alarm set for 6 a.m., 12 p.m., and 8 p.m. It goes off like clockwork to go over my goals every single 3 times a day. And Think and Grow Rich, I'm about to read that again because I read it multiple times, but I got to come up with my phrase because I now need to go through that book and come up with that phrase. And then my goal is 3 books a month. And I do the Audible at the gym, try to maximize time. But there's no excuses. Zero excuses. Whoever just watched this episode, you're staying to an hour and 1 minute into the show, then you are a real one. You're someone who wants more out of your life. And now you know exactly what you need to do to make it happen. Kelly, this has been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for your time. And I'm fired up full of life.
One last thing, man.
Yeah.
One last thing. I want your audience to know this is how you never quit. You will never quit anything if you fervently believe in this, that your why has to be bigger than any excuse that you'll ever tell yourself.
Boom.
That's it.
I love it, man. Kelly, it's been a pleasure, man. Thanks so much for your time today.
I appreciate you.
To air, and I'm excited to take the techniques, the best practices, and everything in the show to then promote the show.
Right on, brother.
Hey,
I appreciate it. Thank
you
again.
Of course, my pleasure. And thanks to y'all. Thanks for staying to the end, as it is our intention for you to take things from our show to apply to your business, have more massive success. Like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, go follow this man, check out Liftoff. We'll love the support as they support us and do all the things behind the scenes to make this podcast possible. And we'll see you all on the next one.